Yes, ma'am.
Just a bit. See.
Hi, how are y'all tonight?
Claudia, we're going to give you about 5 minutes to make an opening statement.
Yes, sir.
And I will direct questions for you.
Okay.
We'll let you know when you got about a minute to go in your opening and questions.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Claudia Laird. I'm running for County Court at Law number 2. I would like to start by telling you a little bit about my experience. First off, I have clerked for Judge John Stein when he was in the courthouse in Harris County. I was one of his law clerks. I'm very proud of that experience. I'm the only candidate in my race who's ever clerked for a judge. I think that's important because I've seen things from the other side of the bench. This year, I will celebrate my 10th year as an attorney, and I am presently the Assistant District Attorney that's the Chief of the Civil Division at the District Attorney's Office here in Montgomery County. A lot of people don't know that we have a Civil Division because they think the District Attorney just handles criminal cases, and I am an anomaly. I'm the only attorney in my office that handles these type of cases. I have handled in County Court at Law number 2 over 400 cases, and I think that's significant because I have vast amounts more experience than the rest of my opponents, specifically in this court. And something that's been troubling me since we've been through a few forums and I've heard a few speeches, and I haven't brought it up until tonight, is none of my opponents seem to realize that County Court at Law number 2 does hear criminal cases. They hear bond forfeiture cases, and those are on a civil docket, but they are criminal cases. When they are appealed up, they go to the Court of Criminal Appeals, not to the Texas Supreme Court. We have a bifurcated system. So I'm the only candidate who seems to be aware of this fact, which causes me grave concern. I also have a master's in business administration as well as operations management experience. County Court at Law number 2 has the largest court in Montgomery County, bigger than our district courts even. Most of the district court budgets are $350,000 a year. County Court at Law number 2 is $500,000 a year. I've had the experience because I work with the money in the district attorney's office through the civil division to present budget with Brett Ligon to our county commissioners. So I've done a lot of things on the financial side and on the business side that are going to make me able to run that office. A couple of things I wanted to follow up with were specifically on the questionnaires. I know a couple of questions I did not answer because of the rules of judicial conduct prohibited me, but I started thinking more about the Roe v. Wade question, and I was listening to Attorney Green that we could talk about personal experiences, not commenting on the law, but personal experience that might tend to demonstrate a position on the law. And I would tell you that on that one question, I can add to my answer that when I graduated law school at University of Houston, we had just gotten a new dean, Nancy Rappaport, and she wasn't my dean the whole time I was in school there, which was kind of a shame because I had to deal with her decision the final year I was there. She actually paid Sarah Weddington, who was plaintiff's counsel in Roe v. Wade, to come in and give the commencement speech at my graduation. And in response to that, I boycotted my own graduation. I did not walk. I've never had the privilege that I think I earned to walk across and receive my diploma. But given that decision, I would make the same decision every time because that was my day, and I think my day was taken away from me by a very poor judgment on the behalf of the dean of the law school. I am running on my record. I've handed out kind of a list of things that hasn't been on any of my literature that I asked to be passed around. There are a list of things that I've done while I've been at the DA's office. Brett Ligon came to me and he knew then that I would run for judge. I came in with Brett. I don't want anyone to think that I came in and then, oop, I'm running off and Brett didn't know about it. We talked extensively during the last campaign. That's when Brett got to know me. And he said, well, I guess you're going to run for judge again. I said, yeah, at some point that's really what I want to do. And he said, well, we'd love to have you on board until that time comes. So Brett has taken full advantage of me and put me in the department that was probably the most in shambles, the asset forfeiture department. There was a lot of publicity about that department during the campaign. Mismanagement, I found it was pretty much all true. There was $85,000, I can tell you, that just is unaccounted for money that we just didn't know, and no one had bothered to figure out for 20 years whose money it is, should we have it, should we give it back. $50,000 has a list of names, thank goodness, that goes with it, which I'm working on right now. $35,000 didn't have any names that went with it, but luckily they were gambling cases, so I went, is that 5 minutes? Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so on with the questions.
Okay,
You went over this.
Adrian?
we'll start with Adrian. No, it's going to be an easy question.
Oh.
Claudia, you are in charge of asset forfeiture, and Brett gives money away to other organisations quite generously. Yet he, as you know, I requested the check register for the asset forfeiture account, and they offered me photocopies of a manual check register. Why haven't they spent some of the many thousands of dollars of forfeited funds to automate the check register for asset forfeiture?
Everything that you said is absolutely correct and on point. Actually, part of my reconciliation process with the $85,000, the reason it is taking so long is because all the thousands of checks that were written in the past 12 years, I'm having to hand enter into Excel so I can go through and sort and see when it was deposited, what the accrued interest, and calculate compounding interest to make sure everything's getting sent out right. They have started with the bank. It's digital now. The lady that I work with in the accounting department is keeping everything in spreadsheets, so that should no longer be a problem. Problem solved. We're using Excel going forward. Why you would use paper ledgers when there are software programs makes no sense to me, but neither does a lot of things that I've come across since I've
Yeah,
started.
on his question.
First of all, I want to applaud you and tell us about your boycott, your graduation. I mean, it sucks that you didn't get to go, but I think that's pretty admirable. When you follow with that, though, there's like a couple questions where you say it's judicially out of code, but I'll follow the law. And on the question of do you support the death penalty, that's one of them where you said you would follow the law. So,
well, the law is that when the jury finds that someone is going to be a continuing threat to society, if they answer that question in the positive, then the jury actually decides. It would be very rare for someone to go to the judge, but they can, I don't think. The jury would make that decision, and then the judge would follow through on the jury's verdicts. It's actually completely out of the judge's hands. And then furthermore, County Court at Law number 2 would only hear misdemeanor jurisdiction, and the legislative history of the death penalty would indicate that we would never have a misdemeanor that would result in the death penalty. But something that not many people in Montgomery County know is Judge Olin Underwood, our administrative judge, has the authority to appoint a county court judge to a felony case. So technically, even though this court doesn't hear felonies, the availability for Judge Underwood using our local rules to appoint that judge to a felony case does exist. And I think a lot of, even the candidates would probably be surprised to hear that. I know during my last campaign, I kept saying, oh, I have felony experience, and my opponent said, well, that really doesn't matter because this is a misdemeanor court, and within a year he was sitting on a felony case trying it. So that was something I just thought was ironic and kind of interesting.
Okay, I believe we have a question back here.
I too want to thank you for that personal story that you shared with us. Thank you very much. On question 9 about the supporting life in prison on the first offense for rapists and child molesters, that kind of, your response to that kind of surprised me. I like it, but I looked at the Montgomery County website for the list of child molesters around here. It's a very high number. So I'm wondering, do you actually see child molesters come in front of you, and would you see them as a judge now? And how feasible is something like that?
I think under the current administration, it's very feasible. It's just how hard, and I mean, Brett Liggins' office, it's how hard is the prosecution going to press for those life sentences? County Court at Law number 2 would not hear a child molestation case. That would be something that would fall within a felony degree, so that would be in district court. Again, you could be appointed if Olin Underwood decided. I've forgotten the rest of your question.
I guess the how feasible, and I'm more referring to our jails are already, our prisons are full. And if we have hundreds of molesters out there, how would we ever get harder on them?
The jails, that's considered an aggravated offense. And so if you're a child molester and you go to the pen, the typical parole calculation is when your good time plus your time served equals 25% of your sentence, which say if you have a year-long sentence, pushes it down under 6 months, so it's very quick.
Wow.
For an aggravated offender, which would be a child molester, someone who used a deadly weapon, they have to at least serve half of their sentence, and more likely than not, when they come in front